just a little preview for the future. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the garage. So we're working on the race truck once again, which is kind of the standard around here anymore. I know we've missed the racing season. We have so much to do on this thing, it's ridiculous, but we're gonna start checking those boxes off even faster, I think, or I'm hoping I should say. We're pretty well good on all of our fabrication stuff as far as like the cage and all goes. We have a couple more things inside the cab we need to get to. As you can see, I have a piece of tube there checking some things out. Our throttle pedal and brake situation we're gonna hold off on. I have some things to figure out on that. But anyway, that's not our main focus tonight. If we can, we will get to that piece of tube in the cab. But our main focus tonight is this engine right here. So our engine from Freedom Racing Engines. Oh man, that thing. I love coming home from work, coming through the garage door, and my day is instantly brightened up. But that being said, it also means there's a lot of work to be done. So as you can see, I have a bunch of parts scattered around here on the floor. We have our engine diaper. We have our new Steed Speed. Well, it's not new. It's new to us. It's a Steed Speed competition manifold. As you guys can see, it has the straight flange, or pretty close to straight flange on there, with a T6 flange for our new turbo setup. We also have our flex plate. We have our flex plate installation kit from DNR Customs, which we will go over. We have a seal for the cam for our adapter plate, which I have painted up a little bit. We have our ECM, which I just shined up with a Scotch-Brite pad on a grinder. Just taking my time and kind of going about it real easy like. We'll see how that looks. A lot of you guys commented in the last video saying we could paint that, but I think that will look good how it sits with all the billet shiny stuff we have on the side of the engine. Speaking of all the shiny stuff, we also have this flexible dipstick tube from Flying Diesel, or Flying Diesel Performance. I forget exactly which it is, but it is a pretty nice setup. It's a locking dipstick tube that's flexible, so we can put it where we want it, which really, do we want this ugly factory thing on there? No, I don't think so. We're gonna get rid of that, and we're gonna use that. Actually, we're gonna need that here in a minute when we get to install this, because we do have to cut this down to make sure it's right for our oil level and all that. Our starter, which I cleaned up. As you can see, I just kind of took a wire wheel to that as well, just cleaning it up a little bit. I wasn't going to paint it or anything like that because, once again, it's something you probably won't see, but we got this amazing looking thing right here. I don't want to put junk looking stuff on it. And our bracket that we made for our ECM. As you can see, I painted that all up. It's looking good. So we'll get that installed, our Breakout Tuning Solutions harness, and kind of try and get the engine outfitted for war. There is still a lot of stuff we need on this. I haven't figured out what's going on with the belts. We're waiting on some brackets, stuff like that. But I'm trying to get this thing so we can install it in the engine compartment and start thinking about things like our intercooler piping, our turbo piping, stuff like that. Because our turbo, well, I got tracking for the turbo. So the turbo's on the way. We just need to try and get all this stuff taken care of, all this little stuff, because there's a lot of stuff, as I keep saying, that I don't know we're gonna run into. And once we get the engine in there, we can kind of start wiring everything and plumbing everything and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, guys, let's jump into it, start getting the engine outfitted with all this stuff, and with any luck, maybe we'll get into the cab of the truck, but we will see. So first off, guys, we have our Armor Inc. Solid engine mounts fully bolted in. They were just up here for like mock-up purposes for the ECM, so they are in, Loctited, all that. Our ECM is in, looking good. Plenty of clearance. A lot of you had commented about nut zerks on the back here of the bracket, but there is plenty of room, if you can see my hand, to get a wrench in there, so that wasn't an issue, and that's looking good. Very happy with how that all turned out. It's looking phenomenal. We also have our adapter plate in on the back of the engine for our 48RE. Everything's looking good there. Please take note that the crank is very clean, because that's the first step of installing our DNR Customs flex plate install kit. Our flex plate is clean and our crank is clean. So this kit is basically what those guys came up with to try and keep the bolts from loosening up on the flex plate and also keep it from friction welding. So if you guys look, I think we already had a little bit of that going on in spots like this where you can see it's kind of pitted. A little bit of friction welding, which I guess is just with all the horsepower and everything, things kind of moving around a little bit. So obviously the guys at DNR Customs know a thing or two about putting down some power. As they are the current UCC champions. So I decided to go with their kit. Basically, it is these ARP flex plate bolts. We were just using our stock bolts, so we have upgraded. Basically, the first step is make sure everything is clean, smooth, all that. Take your ARP fastener, clean it up a good bit, take a wire wheel to it, and clean it with brake clean. As you can see right here, this one is not clean yet, just so you guys can see. Then they have these fancy washers. I forget what they call them. Nordlock washers. So we'll put those on our bolts. Then we will apply some black silicone to the back of, actually the crank they tell you to do it, but I'm sure it doesn't matter whether you apply it to the crank or the flex plate. But basically that's going to get rid of your friction welding problem. And then we're going to torque everything down with this red Loctite on our bolts in like 4 steps to 150 foot-pounds. So I don't have a boring tool, which I should get, but I do have a ratchet and a piece of pipe on our fluid amper boring tool on our full power kit for a fluid amper. So we'll be using that rather than like the factory Cummins boring tool that would go in, you know, well actually, you know what, now that I think about it, that would go on your flex plate, so that doesn't make any sense. This is kind of the only way you can do it. So anyway, that's kind of where we're at. I'll clean up that last bolt. We will, this is a brand new crank, so we don't really have to chase the threads. I will check it just to make sure all our threads are good and clean. Then we will go forward and install our DNR Customs flex plate install kit. So our flex plate is installed with our DNR Customs flex plate install kit with our ARP bolts, Nordlock washers, Loctite, RTV, the whole 9 yards. I got the starter installed, all polished. Well, it's not really polished up, it's just wire wheel, but looking good. And our Steed Speed T6 competition manifold is installed on our ARP studs. Yeah, everything's looking good. We will definitely have to check these a few more times after we have some heat cycles in the engine. Just to make sure everything's tight, because I just have hell, and I don't know if anybody else does, with exhaust manifold studs and bolts and stuff like that. I know in Caitlin I've had issues with them backing out and all that, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Not that it's a big deal, it'll be part of our after race or pre-race checklist. Anyway, all that's installed. We have our Flying Diesel Performance Dipstick tube to put in. Now, this is a very nice piece. It is a locking dipstick tube. Basically, it's kind of like a quick disconnect for an airline fitting, where you got to push it down to get it in or out. It comes in stainless or black. I decided to go with stainless since it's going to be wrapping around our fleece intake manifold. But we do have to cut it down. As you can see, it is rather long, say 6 or 8 inches here. And our factory dipstick tube is only about 3 inches sticking out. Well, it's probably about 4, sticking out of where it actually mates to the block right here. That's why we actually still need this. So we will cut that down with a pair of dikes or a grinder, get everything sorted out there, get it in the block, get it all kind of routed how we want it, make it look good. Probably install our Breakout Tuning Solutions harness, and that'll probably be it for the night because it is getting late. Also, our little boring tool thing here on our fluid damper worked out great once I got the ratchet in the right position. I went around a few times on the second torque cycle, which I think was 100 foot-pounds. Yeah, definitely had the ratchet going the wrong way. But once I got that all squared away, everything was good, great. That full power kit on there really came in handy tonight. Oh, another thing we might be able to get to is our water inlet or outlet on our head. We have this nice piece from Fleece/Freedom Racing. We'll put that in there with an old thermostat housing. So I'll show you that if we get to it. So we're all done. Got our Flying Diesel Performance Dipstick tube in and looking good. Now I will say, the only thing I don't like about this is I did have to remove the starter. That's not what I don't like, but I did have to take that out, which is helping keep the fitting in. It seems as though the O-rings on the fitting may be a tad small. Now, I don't know if that might be a thing with the Hamilton block or what. You know, factory block might be fine, I'm not sure. They were just a little looser than I would like. So what I did is I threw a little RTV on there. But I think once that sets up, we'll be good. But yeah, everything looks good. I mean, that thing's fitting on there nice. Just mounted it to our little fleece bracket here for our rail pressure sensor, and everything's looking good. So yeah, I mean, that really just fits in well. I mean, you'd think it came from Freedom that way. So anyway, guys, that's kind of where we're going to wrap up for the night. We didn't get to a couple of things like our thermostat housing because I know I have an old thermostat around. I just can't find it right now because basically we're going to use an old thermostat as a gasket for this, because we're not going to be running a thermostat. We're just going to be running a pump and cycling coolant through the head, try and pull heat out of the block. But yeah, our engine is about prepared for war. So we got our ECM mounted. I didn't get my Breakout Tuning Solutions harness on yet, but we also got our mounts for the frame installed, our Armor Inc mounts, our starters installed, our Flying Diesel Performance dipstick tube, our flex plate, and our adapter plate are installed with our DNR Customs flex plate installation kit. Our Steed Speed Competition T6 manifolds installed. We're looking good. This thing is really starting to come together. We got some stuff on the front end, but once we get that breakout harness in there, and I only want to get it installed now just for ease, it will be much easier to install all that wiring and make it look pretty here rather than in here. But yeah, we're about ready. We're about ready. I mean, we are right there. Tell you what, I think maybe we are ready. So anyway, guys, like I said, maybe we are ready to install the engine. I mean, most of the big stuff's on there. All the stuff that would kind of be a pain in there. Get our Breakout Tuning Solutions harness on and all that. I can't wait to sink this engine in there, because that means we're one step closer. All we got is wiring, plumbing, a couple things I'm not really a big fan of, but stuff we have to do, and we're ready to go. I don't know. If anybody knows how I can get away with some Cletus McFarlane kind of racing without the doors and, well, I think he has a windshield, but without the doors and windows, let me know in the comments how I can go about that, because we could go full Leroy status on this thing. That'd be cool. We don't even need a front end. But anyway, guys, I'm joking a little bit. Obviously, we need to make it a truck again, though. If we could do the whole Cletus McFarlane thing with this, like this, that'd be pretty cool, don't you think? Anyway, guys, we're one step closer. So I'll catch you guys on the next one. Get out in your garage. Get the wrenching on your truck.